Let's look at the movie market, the entertainment market in Africa. Now, the African movie business is now hotcake right now. Now, despite being plagued by low funding and poor distribution networks, the African film industry is still in its early growth phase, with a lot of lucrative prospects for the smart entrepreneur. And Nollywood, Africa's most popular movie industry with roots in Nigeria, has grown very rapidly in the last 2 decades to become the second largest film industry in the world, which of course is based on the number of movies released, ahead of Hollywood, the USA, and just behind Bollywood in India.
The industry releases nearly 40 new films to the market every week and enjoys a fan base of more than 1 billion people across the world. In spite of its huge volumes, the African movie industry is not yet a multi-billion-dollar business like its counterparts across the world. Now, to provide some perspective to the potentials of the African movie industry, we have Nigerian filmmaker, screenwriter, and director Uche Agbo, who joins us virtually from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Good morning, Mr. Agbo. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning for having me. Very warm good morning to you all in the studio. You all look great.
Thank you, and so do you. All right, Uche, let's talk about the entertainment industry, the movie industry, especially in Nigeria. Can you shed more light on how they've grown over the years?
Okay, so the industry, as we know, it's a struggle of a few individuals who strongly believe that they can make a lot out of nothing. Because right from inception, it has always been about a few individuals, and then, of course, passionate individuals, if you may, who have constantly invested their sweat, invested their money, invested their talent, invested their passion. And over the years, of course, everyone agree that we have grown from just being pedestrian practitioners to being one of the key voice in the world. So yes, right now, as it is right now, the world is beginning to hear us, the world is beginning to understand us, and the world is beginning to understand our peculiarities. Because before now, they laughed at us because we literally created our own ways of doing things. It was more like a guerrilla kind of filmmaking, but now we have more sophisticated. We have more sophisticated equipment. We have more sophisticated actors. We have more sophisticated films coming out. So yeah. Over the years, we've grown, although let me add that that growth may not be complete because we have like literally more like 5 or 10% of film producers in Nigeria who are actually enjoying these large successes that we all talk about. The greater number of people who make a whole lot of films that fuel the African market when it comes to the from the YouTube to other TV channels that show movies, they may not be really enjoying the equal successes that some of these 5 to 10% I mentioned are currently enjoying. But like it is with almost every other aspect of the economy, the gap is still wide between maybe the bigger, the people that produces this chunk of films, and then the people that we refer to as the big boys that really enjoy the greater percentage of the funds. And yesterday during the Abuja International Film Festival panel discussion we had, one of my colleagues mentioned, and I dare say that when some of these, should I say, figures are being railed out in TVs and online, they forget to understand that there is a whole lot of people in the East, in the North, in the West that are producing loads and loads of films, and sometimes are not getting their returns. And I'll tell you why, because the distribution channels are not so much. There are very few distribution channels, and so it brings about a lot of competition.
All right.
So as much as we may want to agree that the industry is growing, we also need to acknowledge the fact that we still have a very long way to go in order to be able to close the gap. Yes.
All right, but I want you to also speak on what you would say changed in the last, let's say in the last 10 years. Has it been more creativity or has it been funding? What would you say has been able to give these persons, like the ones you mentioned, the 5 to 10%, that are making, really, really huge returns, with the movie industry? Would you say that the creativity has been a lot better, or would you say that they've been able to get funding to create better movies, and that has changed the story?
Yes. Of course, there are some huge funding that came into Nigeria in terms of direct investment in the last couple of years, especially with the giant streaming platforms. And I think that's one of the contributory elements that changed the face of Nollywood in the world right now, because there is the entrance of Netflix and of course Amazon Prime right now, and of course generally have influenced the quality and the type of films that we produce, because of the kind of funding that now are in the hands of some of these top film producers. And so when you go to some of these streaming platforms, you could see the change, you could feel the impact that this funding has created. Yes. So yes, there is that injection of that kind of funding has changed Nollywood's dialectics almost forever. However, like I always say, there aside from those streaming platforms, there are also some fundings that you can refer to that some other middle level producers have been able to access. However, that's like I always say, it's a small milestone. It's still little, because Nollywood has a lot of potentials. Nollywood has a lot of authentic African stories yet to be told, because of lack of funding in one aspect by the majority of the people. They use their individual funds and all of that. And again, the YouTube market, because people may really not understand how that works. The YouTube market also has encouraged the weakest link, if I may put it that way, the lowest level of players to somehow even transition into middle level, because there is now a lot of demand for Nigerian movies, and because not so many, as case may be, are already in the streaming platforms, people are now maybe turning to YouTube to search for our movies, and that has also created a large market in that aspect too. So yes, the funding that has come in through the streaming giants for over some couple of years now have really tremendously improved the quality and maybe the quantity of production that we now have. So yes, there are.
Talking about funding and support and all, I would like to know the level of government involvement in the African movie industry, talking about Nollywood, Gollywood and likes. Because looking at Bollywood, for example, it's a major source of income for the country at large. So we see that the government invests a lot. In fact, we hear that some of the actors are like government workers because they are prioritized that much. So how much of involvement would you say that governments across Africa have in the movie industry?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'll talk specifically about Nigeria because I'm a Nigerian, I'm a practicing Nigerian filmmaker, and of course, I am also the National Secretary of Directors Guild of Nigeria. So what that means is that for every film director that is in Nigeria, that is registered, is under our association, and I'm National Secretary.
Uche Agbo, are you able to hear us clearly?
Yes, I can hear you loudly now.
Kindly go ahead.
So, yeah, I think it's technology issues. All right, so like I was saying, I have had courses as a member of National Executive of Directors Guild of Nigeria. I've had courses to have meetings with some government agencies. I've had courses to be in a room where potential government policies that could improve the industry is being discussed. But here's the thing, government has not done so much. Let the truth be told. I'm very specific in terms of the Nigerian government. They have not done so much in terms of supporting the movie industry. Yes, you could give them some credit, no doubt, because some of them, like some very critical agencies like Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board, you could give him credit, like the director of Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board, you could give him credit because he's always wanting to know how he can help to improve the industry. But on a larger scale, in terms of creating large framework, creating policies that can probably help us in terms of piracy, creating policies that can help us in terms of direct funding, creating larger framework, which is the work of the government, and creating an atmosphere that will be easy for filmmakers to thrive in a society like this. Government hasn't done so much. So from the inception up till now, it has been it has been more of individual contribution, individuals who are very passionate about the industry and all whatnot. So there is supposed to be some sort of film funding, for instance, coming from the Nigerian Film Corporation. I have not heard about that in the since ever. There's supposed to be some support coming from some agencies of the government that could enable filmmakers maybe travel abroad to some film festivals. There's supposed to be some capacity building funding that's supposed to come from the government. These are some of the things that other governments of other parts of the world are doing to encourage their industry to thrive. However, this is not the case with the Nigerian government. And I say that with every sense of responsibility. So as much as I may want to give kudos to some of the critical agencies that are trying to figure out what the issues are and are trying to provide solutions, on the larger scale, I don't think the government has done enough to support the film industry to thrive.
Okay, now let's talk about, from your ratings, I want to talk about storytelling now. We've seen Kunle Afolayan in the last few months he's basically made headlines with fantastic storytelling. We've also seen, of course, some of the best movies. I think 2022 has given Nigeria some of the really, really best movies. But I want to get your ratings on the storytelling across the industry, the industries on the continent, in Ghana, in South Africa, in Nigeria, and of course in East Africa. If you followed the movie industries, how would you rate the storytelling abilities of these different industries? And you're allowed to be a little biased.
Okay, so first and foremost, I must have to say that Nigeria is a very unique country. Particularly Africa as a whole. Let me even take the African market generally and I would say Africa, we are a very unique continent. I tell people that film is just a medium. Storytelling is constant. From the days of how do I call it, and the moonlight storytelling, gathering under the mango tree of our forefathers up till now. Africa has unique ways of telling stories. Nigeria particularly have a way of telling stories. So you have your neighbor, he goes to the market, he comes back, he wants to narrate to you how and what he has witnessed in the market for that particular day. And the way and the manner in which he's going to dramatize it, he's going to put it, is very unique. So yes, generally Africans, we have unique ways of telling stories. Now bringing the film medium is, I would say, as it is now, you mentioned Kunle Afolayan, and pretty much you give him credit. He has been one of the most consistent African filmmaker who has constantly told African story. He has been from the days that he made Irappada all the way through when he made October 1st. No, before October 1st, I think there was Phone Swap, there was Figurine, Phone Swap, October 1st, and all of that. So he has been consistent. Give it to him. He has been consistent in telling authentic African stories. All right. So now, I will say that because when we talk on televisions and when we talk on newspapers, we usually focus, like I always say, focus on the premium, focus on the premium market, and we'll give credit. You should give credit to us actually because we are the if I may use the word, we are the best positive image laundering mechanism that Nigeria and Africa has right now. I think to think about Nigeria, one of the best places to look towards to see some positive vibes is from Nollywood. It's from the film industry. So in terms of storytelling, we have done as much as the capacity within could afford. And I'm a realist. If you go to like South Africa, they have a couple of production treaties with some countries, European countries and some American countries. I think about 8 countries or thereabout. And these production treaties allow these foreigners to come directly to South Africa and make films and collaborate with these people. As they make these films, the South Africans get better. They get better with storytelling techniques.
Right.
We don't have much of such luxury right now, okay? We don't have much of that treaty. So the collaboration level in Nigeria is usually on individual basis.
Very well said. All right, thank you so much, filmmaker, screenwriter, and of course, director all the way from Abuja, Uche Agbo. Thank you for joining us on the news and shedding more light on the movie industry across Africa. We really appreciate your time.